Hey guys, welcome to Ross Gets Fit vlog number 2. This week I'm going to talk about some of the hurdles I had last week and talk about my inner body results for the first 7 days and talk about goals for this coming week. So first thing, let's talk about my in-body results. So last week I was 237.5. This week I'm 226.3. So this is the in-body from this week. I'm going to post a picture of it on my Instagram so you guys can kind of look at it as well and see kind of some of the data. The big thing with the competition that I wanted to do is kind of track my progression over time. And that way I can make little adjustments here and there. Big thing, if you're not making assessments, you're really just guessing as you're trying to make your progress. So I don't want to be guessing throughout this whole thing. I want to make sure that I'm making good adjustments throughout the progress. So that being said, like I said, it sounds like, oh dang, he had a great week, right? He lost 11 plus pounds, 11.2 pounds overall of total body weight. But let's dig into that a little bit deeper. This is why I think the assessments are good. Not everybody's going to have access to an in-body machine. If you know somebody that can do skin fold calipers on you and do like a nice 9-site, the more sites you have, the more comprehensive the data is going to be. You're going to be better off. Things like circumference measurements as well, which is what I'm going to be tracking. Also, I want to see what's getting bigger, what's getting smaller as I go through this. So ideally, my arms and legs and back and chest will get bigger and my stomach will get smaller. But as we go through this process, you want to be able to make these little micro adjustments. That being said, this first week, I'm not trying to freak out. So 11.2 pounds of body mass was lost. So great, right? But let's dig into that a little bit. So right off the bat, up on top again, when you look at the picture that I'm going to post, it's probably hard to see, but intracellular, extracellular water right here on the first 2 lines. That's talking about how much body water is actually inside your cells. So intracellular inside the cells, extracellular outside the cells. Big thing here, big thing to note is 2.8 pounds of that water was intracellular. Okay, so I lost some water weight within my cells, most likely came from muscle, and I'll talk about that a little bit as we go. Extracellular water is basically held from inflammation and things like that. It's good to know as you go through this process where everything's coming from. Again, prior to starting the competition, I had developed some pretty bad habits. We all fall in ruts. I teach exercise science, sports medicine, like I talked about in my first video, so I should know better than to yo-yo up and down. I've done this competition. One time I did it real serious. I've done it about 3 years in a row. Last year I took it semi-serious, and then I let some stressors and stuff towards the end of the year get me off track, and excuse, fat again. So this year, my real goal is to use this 84 days or however long it ends up being, 90-something by the time you take your final pictures. I'm hoping to extend this out. So overall, my goal would be to get to 185, 190, maybe float around 10 to 15% body fat, depending on how muscle gain and loss goes throughout the process. Am I expecting to get there through the 90 days? Maybe not as realistic. I'm hoping it's something that I can do, but we'll see. I'm not going to force it. My real goal for this thing is to get me back to healthy and then to make it through the summer with me maintaining that goal, and then come back to my teaching profession ready to rock. So still in shape, hopefully in better shape, and keep progressing. So my big thing, stepping back, going forward, and not really having years to build on each other for the last 3 or 4 years. So getting back into this and why I started talking about that is the bad habits that I developed throughout my nutritional process was I ate a lot of sugar. I had basically a sugar or sweet addiction. Every day pretty much I'm trying to drink the 0-calorie drinks because you pretend that they're healthier, right? Where they're actually still creating dopamine responses. They're still creating, depending on what type of sweeteners in the artificial or in the 0-calorie drinks, still creating semi-insulin responses. On top of that, I'm drinking 0-calorie Gatorades and eating, chips and chocolate. Anything are pretty much my weakness. So last week, really tried to cut those out. So that's most likely where the inflammation was coming from. I'm not really dealing with any specific injury or anything like that. So the inflammation guaranteed was coming from gastrointestinal issues and things like that. So again, as we go through this, so water weight, 6.1 total pounds. You'll notice that this doesn't all add up, and that's because some of the intracellular water is accounting for that skeletal muscle loss, because there was a skeletal muscle loss. This is where you could freak out in your process. However, you have to understand that's going to happen a little bit. We want to minimize that, adjust a little bit on the nutrition, and stay the course. It's only been 7 days. So coming down here, what you guys care about the most, I'm not going to go into every single bullet point like I did last time. If that's something you want me to do, maybe leave a comment below, and I'll make another video where I go through every single bullet item. So skeletal muscle went from 97.4 to 93.7. Okay, so that was a skeletal muscle loss of 3.7 pounds. Again, keeping in mind that 2.8 pounds, some of that 2.8 pounds of intracellular water came from the muscles. So again, not freaking out over that. As I get my lifting routines squared away and locked in, that'll hopefully stop, as well as getting my calories where they need to be 100%. Body fat mass went from 66.4 to 63.4, so 3-pound total fat loss, right? So I told you at the beginning of this, I had 11.2 pounds of total body water loss, 6.1 pounds of total body water loss, 11.2 pounds of total body weight. You'll notice 6.1 plus 3 pounds of fat loss plus 3.7 pounds of muscle loss does not equal 11.2. And again, that's because of the intracellular water, some of that coming from the muscle tissue. So I didn't lose 3+ pounds of actual muscle. Some of that came from water weight. BMI went down a 1.5 or so. Again, that's just because of the weight. However, body fat percentage stayed the same, 28.0, 28.0. So that's something that I want to adjust this week, and it came because of some of the headaches and things I had dealing with last week. So getting into kind of my next bullet point on these in-body results is last week, starting on Sunday, I took out the sugar, took out the artificial sweeteners, had to go cold turkey. I'm a step-by-step person, so the first thing I know I needed to do is lock in my nutrition. If you think of time in a day, what do we do the most of? Okay, so let's say you're crazy lifter. Okay, you're a crazy lifter. You lift all the time, or you're running all the time. You're a triathlete, something like that, and you're putting in 14 hours a week of training. Okay, 14 hours a week equals 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. That sounds like a lot. However, nutrition plays a part in your life 24 hours of the day. Okay, and then obviously you're hoping to sleep during that time. You're also getting sleep 6 to 9 hours, depending on what your body responds to. Hopefully you're going to push a little more sleep, and is one of my personal limiters. So last week's goals for myself was to, one, work on my nutrition, make that get that as locked in as possible, and two, try to work on my sleep. Still something I'm struggling with, as with 3 kids and one's a year and a half. Again, another excuse, but they like to get up over in the night. The year and a half kind of reversing his cycle a little bit and staying up a little later and getting up at night for bottles and things like that, as my wife works 3rd shift. So it's something I'm working on, and I know if I can time everything right, it'll get better. What I didn't do much last week because of the sugar withdrawals that hit me hard on Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday. If you've ever had migraines and tension headaches, when they go away, you still almost feel like you're hungover, like foggy. So last Monday, I had the intention of lifting, trying to get my training in. Just couldn't do it. My headache was so bad. Tuesday night, it was even worse, to where I felt like I couldn't sleep at all. And then Wednesday was when I finally felt good. Thursday, I got a little bit of a lift in. Friday, a little better lift. Saturday, I did just some cardio because I'm at my house. I work in a lab that I have fitness equipment, and my seniors and I are really working on some goals. So I try not to pay for a gym membership. Doesn't make sense. So again, as I'm going through this process, I'm not trying to pay for a gym membership. So my Saturday, Sundays, that's going to be my cardio days. However, this Sunday, didn't do too much training. This week's goals is to lock that training in, really get everything going, everything moving. So I feel like I did step 1, lock in the nutrition. The sleep goal is going to be processed throughout this whole thing. And then step 2, lock in the training. I'm not overly out of shape per se. I'm heavy, but I still always basically through the whole first semester did maintenance lifting. No specific goal lifting, but I'm not out of shape to where I can't finish workouts. Some people may be starting there, and that's okay. You know it'll get better. Just keep grinding through that. But for me personally, I'm not out of shape to the point where I can't finish a workout, or I'm biting off workouts that are too intense. It's at this point, it's really just the body composition issue. So my fueling pattern, kind of something I wanted to talk about as well, is I mentioned it in the first video, is the intermittent fasting routine. For my lifestyle, 20 and 4s really work the best. So I don't like to eat before bed. It kind of causes me indigestion and things like that. So I like to shut off the food around 8 o'clock. I hope to go to bed around 10. I typically wake up at 6:30. That'd be if I can actually fall asleep at 10 and wake up at 6:30. That's a good 8.5 hours. That'd be legitimately 3 hours more than what I'm getting at the moment. However, right now I try to go to bed at 10. Brain's still rolling, or I'm dealing with the kids or something, and I finally fall asleep around 12:30, and then I'm waking up for bottles and things like that. But shutting off the food around 8 o'clock, and then because I work until 4, makes it easier so I don't have to meal prep or anything like that. My window's 4 to 8. Thomas DeLauer has a really good intermittent fasting routine that he talks about. I got his science-based green detox supplement that I like. It's good tasting. Well, maybe I'll do a review of that stuff, because I got some other stuff like Cytogreens as well, just to compare and see what I like the taste of. Maybe I'll review those next week if that's something people want. But as I went through that process of checking out that he has a little bit of a nutrition plan, You start a couple days a week, 16 and 8s and all this and that. But I kind of like how he processes it. So 4 o'clock is my protein shake. About 4:30 is protein shake with some fats. That allows me an hour to really cook up my dinner. And my dinner is a pretty standard dinner. Some chicken, some greens, some sort of healthy carb source, sweet potatoes, rice, etc. I'll typically cook enough to eat that same meal twice, so at 5 and then 6 o'clock. And then between 6 and 8, I'm really just trying to make sure I hit my macros in a healthy way. So again, this week I'm not freaking out over my data because my body has to adjust to it. Like I said last week, I suffered through the headaches. I wasn't trying to replace sugar withdrawals with like an ibuprofen, so I was just kind of gritting it out. And now I feel great. I'm having no problems at all. I just finished a 48-hour fast, which I plan on doing every Sunday to Monday night, and keep everything grounded. That was the bell for class. So I'm going to stop this here. Again, goals for this week is to push my training so that it's more consistent. I've gotten a good lift this past Monday and got a good lift today on Tuesday. Planning to keep everything grounded. So thanks for watching.